नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस।
सुभाष चंद्र बोस।
नेताजी सुभाष जिन्होंने हमें स्वाधीन और संप्रभु भारत का विश्वास दिलाया।
तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा। जय हिंद।
To speak of Subhas Chandra Bose is to begin with what he actually did for India, not with how history later chose to file him away. Before Bose even raised an army, before slogans thundered and flags were unfurled in foreign lands, his journey began along a path that the British Empire itself had laid out for India's brightest minds. Born in 1897, Bose did everything colonial India defined as success: academics, Cambridge, and the Indian Civil Service. By 1921, he had cleared the exam and stood one step away from power and privilege. He chose instead to walk away, returning to India with the conviction that serving the empire could never mean serving the nation. Back home, he stepped directly into the freedom struggle and soon encountered Mahatma Gandhi, whose moral authority was unmatched but whose methods troubled Bose deeply. Gandhi believed non-violence was not merely strategy but principle, something unalterable. Bose, shaped by the realities of colonial repression and global politics, believed that freedom could not be held hostage to a single method. Yet, despite the fundamental disagreement, he did not walk away. Instead, he chose to work within the Indian National Congress, believing that nationalism had to be fostered from within mass politics. For years, Bose worked under the Congress umbrella, organizing workers, mobilizing youth, enduring arrests, and building a following that extended far beyond elite circles. By the late 1930s, his popularity had become impossible to ignore. In 1939, when he contested the Congress presidential election, he did so openly, democratically, and against Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, the candidate personally backed by Gandhi. Bose won. The verdict was clear, yet the victory proved hollow. The Congress Working Committee, dominated by Gandhi loyalists, refused to cooperate with him, paralyzed decision-making, and quietly ensured that an elected president could not function. Eventually, Bose was forced to resign. From that moment onward, Bose's path diverged sharply from the leadership that would later inherit independent India. When the Second World War broke out, he saw an opening history would not offer twice. Arrested and placed under surveillance, he escaped British custody and left India, convinced that independence could not be negotiated while Britain fought for its own survival. In Europe and later in East Asia, he internationalized India's struggle, culminating in his leadership of the Azad Hind Fauj, raised from Indian prisoners of war captured in Japan and Malaysia, along with civilians from the Indian diaspora. In that army, caste and class were irrelevant. Rank came from commitment. Yet, when independence finally arrived in 1947, Bose was no longer alive to shape the nation he had fought for. And that absence proved extraordinarily convenient. Power consolidated quickly within the Congress, and leadership passed not to the leader chosen by its elected representatives, but to Jawaharlal Nehru, elevated through the moral authority of the Gandhi family. Democracy had already been bent, and the consequences were immediate. In this new political order, Subhas Chandra Bose was not merely inconvenient, he was dangerous to the narrative. What followed was not neglect, but systematic burial. Bose's role in the freedom struggle was steadily erased from institutional memory. His leadership of the Azad Hind Fauj was reduced to a passing mention. His impact on the British Indian Armed Forces, which triggered widespread unrest and fear within the colonial establishment, was deliberately downplayed. School textbooks grew silent. Official histories spoke around him, never through him. Was this accidental? Was it calculated? Or was it fear? Even more disturbingly, this erasure did not stop at books. From 1948 to 1968, Congress governments placed Bose's family under constant surveillance. Their private letters were intercepted, their movements tracked, their lives quietly intruded upon year after year, decade after decade. One is compelled to ask why. What kind of free nation spies on the family of one of its greatest freedom fighters? What threat did they pose? Files related to Bose's disappearance and death were sealed for decades. His story was locked away, his legacy sanitized, his image reduced to ceremonial respect without substance. The Congress did not merely sideline Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. They ensured that generations of Indians would never fully understand what he stood for or why his vision unsettled those in power. It took decades for that silence to be challenged. After 2014, under PM Modi, the sealed files were finally opened, the truth placed before the public, and the long shadow of secrecy lifted. In 2021, on Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose's birth anniversary, Parakram Divas was declared. His contributions were restored to national memory. Museums, commemorations, and public honors followed, not as acts of generosity, but as overdue corrections. Remembering Netaji today is not about revisiting the past for comfort. It is about confronting how power chooses what a nation remembers and what it is taught to forget. Netaji refused to wait, refused to submit, and refused to dilute his dreams of a free India. Perhaps that refusal explains why his legacy was buried so long and why its revival now feels so unsettling to those who once tried to erase it. Jai Hind!